Alrighty everybody, Connor here from UFScotland. In this week's UFScotland League games I played Sea Viper. So here's what I came up with. So Sea Viper is a 6 hand size character with 28 vitality, has fire, good and order as our symbols. This deck we use good. So the response on this card is after the combat phase begins, reveal the top card of your deck and you may discard one card and draw one card. So gives you a bit of knowledge, being able to flip that card over, see what it is, maybe pick it up if you want it. So awesome there. 2 enhances. First enhance is a once per turn. Your EX or stun attacks get +1 damage for each of your opponent's committed foundations. So pretty awesome there. Obviously if you can commit them a wee bit, you'll get some extra damage on those kind of attacks. But mainly, the next enhance is your charge attacks gain stun too. So obviously it completely fills that first clause, that once per turn, which is if you play a bunch of charge attacks you're going to give them stun too, and that's going to be the idea of this deck. So just going to show off the attack so far. So 2 attacks we play that don't interact with that, simply because they don't have charge or EX, is Fatality, but they're in for the reason of we need momentum for Sea Viper's actual attack. So this attack being Fatality, after it resolves, you may add it to your momentum. So a bit of snap momentum, awesome. On top of that, one of the biggest pains right now is things like gauge characters and people interacting with the discard pile. Playing a couple of these, which when we play 2, playing a couple just allows us to maybe hit some of those kind of cards when we play it. That's the kind of idea behind it. So basically the response is that after you play this card, you name a card and you remove all copies of the named card from your opponent's discard pile. So again, it's just to kind of hit those tactics out the way and kind of have a wee bit of response to them. It's got a deadlock combo. I'm going to read it just because it's funny if it ever happens. It's still to happen for me. If your opponent's at desperation, you win the game. So again, you have to play a fatality, keep it in pool, then play the second fatality. I've never had it happen to me. It's never happened yet. Be interesting. Post in the comments below if it's happened to you and kind of how it happened. It'd be quite interesting to read some of them. Next card we play, and it should not be obvious. It should be obvious, I should say. Nutcracker. For God's sake, this thing just happens to have charge, didn't it? So when we thought it was a pure broken card to start with, all of a sudden now it's got charge, which means it's going to get stunned too in this deck. So card is mental. So it's got a 4 diff attack, 4 low for 4. And it's got a nice 2 mid block with a breaker 2 response, which is awesome. It's got EX3, so we have use for the momentum to start with. But on top of that, as I say, charge, it's gain stun 2, and it's got enhance, add 1 foundation for your discard pile to your card pool in any order, draw 1 card. We have a bunch of cards that interact well with this to not disadvantages as we play, and it means that we get an extra draw card mechanic going off. On top of that, if your opponent's a starting character's male, it gets +4 damage. Again, most characters in this game are male, so this effect does tend to trigger more often than it doesn't, so it's pretty awesome there. And it just gives us this kind of absolute heavy hitter of a card in the deck. As I say, we play 4 of them because it's just far too good not to. Next card we play 4 of, we play 4 Hammerhead Assaults, another 4 diff attack, 3 high for 5 damage this time, with a nice 3 check. No block this time on this one. But again, this card itself has got charge, so it's going to get stunned too. And its enhance is really what we're caring about on this one. The top enhance is discard 2 cards of your deck, off the top of your deck, and add 1 discarded this way to your momentum. So again, it's just a bit of momentum generation as we play charge attacks to be able to give us some momentum for what's going to come up next. But as I say, it's charge and it's got EX3, so it's got all the options as well at the same time as well to be able to do that. On top of that, it's got a deadlock ability, which can be useful if we ever get there, because the deadlock enhance is add 2 of your opponent's foundations to the bottom of their deck. So this allows us to, obviously, because we're playing all charge attacks basically, we're stunning them out, and then you actually, if they ever got a deadlock, you could potentially debuild them by 2 of, like, say, their ready up foundations. So there's really good options and interactions with this card if it ever gets to that stage. As I say, the games I've played, they didn't get to deadlock, so I haven't been able to try it out. But as far as I'm aware, that would work pretty effectively. As I say, we play 4 of them. Next card we play 4 of Sea Viper's actual attack, Burst Time. This card is so cool. I'm really enjoying this card. Another 4 diff attack. Got a 2 low block this time. 2 high for 4 damage, and it has a 2 check, but it is very much deserving of that 2 check. So this card itself has charge, so we can give it stun 2, has stun 1, which means it's stun 3 in overall, and has multiple 3 and a combo enhance on a stun prerequisite. So the combo enhance is why it's got a 2 check. The combo enhance is add the top 3 cards of your deck to your momentum, so it's got an ability to fill its own multiple 3 clause basically. So awesome stuff. On top of that, Sea Viper's enhanced for this card itself is multiple copies of this attack gain charge for the rest of the turn. So again, you're getting stun 3 out of this overall kind of thing. You're stunning 3 things, and all the multiples you now have are now going to have stun 2. So it just allows you to do that whole stun out the field and hit somebody for extra damage kind of on the last attack when they probably can't block it potentially kind of thing, or they've had to block other things. So it's a really cool interaction. As I say, this card's probably one of my favourite right now after playing it. I've just really enjoyed the interactions of it. So we play 4 of them. Next card, and the cards that actually trigger the stun on top of itself for having stun on them, is Rolling Attack. So we play 3 Rolling Attacks, another 4 diff attack. This time we have 0 low block, 3 low for 4 damage. Now it's got charge and it's got stun 1. So on the same vein, the fact that it's got stun 1 means that overall it's going to be committing 3 cards because we're going to give it stun 2. But this card's awesome. So this enhance is pretty useful. So your opponent reveals the top 3 cards of their deck, and you may discard any cards revealed this way and return the rest to the top of their deck in any order. So what I've noticed by using it is, if I know I can't kill them, I've been using this, making them reveal those 3 and making them discard the attacks, for instance, or sometimes all of them. That's depending on what I did. One game I did, I think they checked like 2 attacks in the foundation. I left them with the foundation because at the end of the day, when it comes to the turn, you know they're picking up something grey rather than something orange. So it's useful that way. At the same time as well, obviously, if I knew I was going for game and I was able to check and you see attacks and stuff, you leave the attacks so you know they've got a bad check. So the card's really cool for giving you that kind of hindsight. And if they have no way of checking cards and stuff like that, you just know what you're playing into. So it's a really good setup of it as a card. And as I say, it has stun 1, so like the combo ability for burst time can trigger on this kind of thing if you get like 2 of them out. So on top of that, the last attack we play is Cherub Cyclone. We play 3 Cherub Cyclones, 5 diff this time, so it's the highest of the difficulties, and it's a 3 mid block, which is cool enough. It's a 4 high for 6 damage and a 3 check. It's got charge and stun 1, similar to Rolling Attack and that. So again, it's another one of these ones that's going to be committing 3 cards overall. And it's got throw, so it's got 2 uses here. I quite like it early game. So early game, basically you throw it out, and if you've got other attacks ready to go, if this attack deals less than printed, you gain 2 and your next attack gets +3. So you just don't affect its damage as such, really. You don't interact with it too much, and you either say to the opponent, take 6, or you're taking like less than 6, and I'm going to be able to trigger that off, gain some vitality back, and at the same time as well get 3 damage onto, say, potentially a Nutcracker, for instance, which then might be able to get extra speed bonuses and all this sort of stuff. So it's a really good setup like that. At the same time as well, it's also very good late game, simply down to the fact that it is a throw. So late game you can get it out and you've stunned them all out and you're getting that extra damage, and even if they partial it, sometimes it's still lethal. So it's an awesome setup as a card. So that is the attacks. Now we're going to go into the foundations. I play 1 Refusing to Let Go, simply down to the fact that it's a nice wee defensive piece on symbol. Enhance commit, return this attack's damage to printed, then this attack is +1 or -2 damage. So again, mainly it's defensively played, so that does, if attacks are kind of getting out of control, you can kind of that once per turn reset a thing and not have to worry about it. Awesome card. Next card we play 4 Sense of Morals. Again, one of the cards that we need for like Nutcracker to not interfere with our turns. Again, the card doesn't count towards progressive difficulties. It's awesome even just playing it in general, and it's not going to interrupt us, and it's anti-stun. So on a 4 check, ready one of your foundations that's been committed due to your opponent's effects this turn, and it's playable or committed. So this just helps us, as much as it's a stun thing, it helps us overall for all the kind of committing of cards as such, like Manifestation and all that sort of stuff. So it gives us a bunch of outs that way, so it's pretty useful that way. It's a solid card. We play 4 of them. Next card we play 4 Honky Tonk Women's. I found this quite useful in the deck actually. So Honky Tonk Women's enhance is you flip it, and if the top card of the deck, your discard pile is a foundation that you can normally play, you add it to the stage now committed. This card's just been quite useful for like building up extra cards as we go and stuff like that. So it's been pretty useful. A lot of cards are kind of like, there's a couple of 1-ofs and a couple of 2-ofs and stuff, and just in general knowing that you're going to in future turns have that extra foundation has actually been pretty useful overall. So cards are actually pretty awesome, and as I say, I play 4 just out of the fact that I want to see it more often and find the extra stuff. So the next card we play 3 of this time is Toughest Punk and Junior High. So again, this is just another one of these super defensive pieces that I've been really enjoying in a lot of my decks. So you respond and flip. Before you take damage from an attack, you reduce the damage you would take by 3. So this gives us all these good kind of like defensive options to just kind of mitigate attacks and not have to force blocks and all this sort of stuff. Card's just been really useful. As I say, there's not much to say on it because it's just a kind of useful card. Next card we play 2 Burning with Revenges. So the reason I play 2 in this one is just the fact that I didn't want to overbear the deck, and you could potentially change the numbers up, but 2 seems to work pretty well. So this card's one of these ones you grab with Nutcracker, basically. So the enhance from card pool is that your attack is +2 damage, and you may add this card to your staging area face down committed. So it's one of those cards you can add to the pool. You've got that draw, and then you build it and stuff like that. So it's awesome that way. At the same time as well, after this card's committed due to a stun ability, ready one other foundation. So if we're getting hit with stun ourselves, this is just a bit of a anti-stun kind of thing. So it's actually a pretty decent card to have face up as well, if we actually end up playing it out. So it can be very useful depending on what you're playing. But extra damage and then building it and stuff like that's also just as useful. So card's pretty good, and I played 2 of them in the deck. 3. So the next card we played 2 Spiritual Connections. This is probably my favourite foundation so far from the revealed DLC packs. So the first form's the only one we're looking at because it's the one I used for the deck, which is just super defensive. Flip, after you're dealt damage from an attack, your opponent must play a non-attack card as the next form this turn or pass. So again, it's just one of those ones to break up kill turns basically. If you think the opponent's going to come in for some aggressive attacks and they've been holding some attacks, and you can tell because they've been holding cards and stuff, just allows you to say, cool, play something else or pass. Awesome. Can end so many good turns. As I say, it's a really, really useful card, and I've been loving it so much. So we're going to get rid of that one next and go on to the next card we play 2 of, which is Kirin Soul. So Kirin Soul is just one of these solid defensive pieces that most people would be playing in this symbol, because on an enhanced flip, this attack gets -1 speed for each character in the staging area, so it'll always just be -1 speed. But if it is blocked, it deals no damage. So this allows us to kind of off-symbol block off partial and stuff like that without fearing of taking damage and stuff like that. It means that we don't have to waste useful blocks early in the game. That's the idea at least. So again, it's an awesome card. Maybe we just play 2. We don't need to see too many of them. Next card we played 2. We played Defeating the Tegashima. I think that's how it's pronounced. This card's just pretty useful for giving us extra damage as we play our turns out. So it's got Weapon, which is no use to us. We don't care for that. But it's got a commit your stun or weapon attack. So every attack basically gets +2 damage. And you can also destroy it, and this is playable while committed, to give your attack +2 damage. So this is just one of these ones we can kind of like buff up the damage on attacks as we're going in for the kind of kill turns. That's the idea of it as such. Also at the same time as well, one of the things I've been using it for is committing it, giving 2 damage, destroying it for another 2 damage, and then Honky Tonk Woman to bring it back out. Committed, where you can potentially then just do the destroy again for 2 more damage and stuff like that. I've been using that a few times, and it's been giving some of the kind of throw attack, the cherub, just that extra damage to kind of like really kind of like force game. So as I say, 2 of them out the way. Next card I play 1 Confronting Jada. So again, it's got unique, so I do tend just to play ones of unique cards, and this one's once per turn. This attack gets +X or -X damage. X equals the difference between the attack's speed and its printed speed. So this allows us to things like Hammerhead Assault and Nutcracker to use the EXs and stuff like that for extra damage as well. So stuff like that. That's the kind of idea of it. On top of that, it's also defensive, in the sense that some people do ramp up that speed and then you just kind of hit the damage for it as well. So it can be used in both fronts, which is pretty useful. Next card we play 1 of. This is just a kind of trial card, but it has been very useful. This card would possibly increase in numbers, potentially. So Innocent Breeze, nice Talon card, and it's got an enhanced commit. Your attack gets +1 damage for each card in your card pool. Just getting that extra wee bit of damage. As I say, like if you're playing out the kind of combo and stuff like that, then you kind of on average are going to have like 6 cards in pool. So like you're saying 6 damage on that last attack kind of thing. So it's been pretty useful. On top of that, it's also super defensive for some of these replayable cards, like the Amy attack and stuff like that, which is respond flip. After an attack resolves, flip it, and it's playable while committed. So things like that. At the same time as well, it also breaks up combo decks as well, because you sort of interact and you have face downs and all that sort of stuff now in their pool. Stuff like that. It's actually a pretty good card. As I say, I'm at 1 currently, but it probably will go to 2 in future games. Next card we play 1 of is Wandering Pirate. Wandering Pirate is just one of these kind of staples, I think, on these symbols. It's unique. It's got a 4 check, so it's not the super greatest. It can mess your numbers up, but after your opponent's combat phase begins, you ready this foundation. That then obviously can trigger it twice per turn. After this foundation is readied or committed, ready one other foundation that's not been readied this combat phase, and that's playable or committed. Just allows you to have extra cards ready. And we also play one Passing the Torch. Again, this is just a nice wee card to have in the deck from the My Hero demo decks, which is enhanced commit. Either draw one card, or if you're at no cards in hand, draw 2 cards. A lot of times you play out some extra cards in the attack run and stuff like that, knowing you've got it, so you're going to be picking up 2 cards kind of thing. So stuff like that gives you some nice wee access and some options. Right, going on to next, we play one Cool and Focused. This is just a decent block, especially with some of the decks I've been playing lately. It's a decent block in general, which is when you attempt to block with this card, return the opponent's attack to its printed speed and zone. And it's once per turn if you actually play it as a foundation, as both players discard the top card of their deck. So it's pretty useful for people starting the decks and then saying, nah, let's just have it random. And on top of that, as I say, it's just a decent block to have one of them and ready to go if you have it. Next we play one Fallen Master. So Fallen Master's a 1-diff with a 6 check. It's a 6 check I quite like just to kind of balance the numbers a little bit. Since we played 2 checks, but it's also been pretty useful down to the fact that it's in commit is this attack is -1 speed and -1 damage. Sometimes just doing that, knowing with some of the other defensive pieces we've got, just allows us that extra wee chip of damage where we don't have to take as much going into like having to block and stuff like that. So it's been pretty useful, and a nice 2 high block as well, which has also saved me in a few games. Next card we play 2 Never a Day Without Training. So this card again, 1-diff, 5 check, 2 low block. If we get any assets out, we can flip this card, and as long as we have 1 or more in play, we can draw a card. And then the other enhance is just, we can discard 1 card to draw 1 card on that, and that gets flipped as well. So this just allows us to hand sculpt a wee bit and potentially just draw 3 cards off the flip. That's the kind of idea of it, and as I say, we play a couple of assets, so it's one of those ones. It's nice just to be able to filter, especially because we want to play a bunch of attacks because they'll all get charged and do stuff like that. That's the kind of idea of it. As I say, nice 2 of them. I also play this card here, Captain's Discontent. This is 2 of as well. It's got a respond flip. After an attack where a keyword rating is played, it gets +2 or -2 damage. 1. So it basically affects every card in the deck, where you can potentially just get an extra cheeky 2 damage to it. But then at the same time as well, defensively as well, a bit of -2 on something being played, and we played 2 of them. So that's the foundations out the way. So going on to the assets, we play 1 Scarlet Thunder, simply down to the fact that that enhance has been pretty useful. Discard 1 momentum. If your non-throw attack deals damage, add 1 other card from your card pool to your hand. Just allows us to rotate attacks on the non-throw ones as such. So it's been pretty useful that way, and because we generate momentum, we can actually kind of trigger it every so often. It's worked out pretty well so far when it's seen play. As I say, play 1 of them. So the next asset we play is Omega Sword and Owl Shield. Simply down to the fact that if it's on symbol, you definitely should be playing at least 1 copy of this card in a deck. So, while this card's ready in your staging area, your blocks ignore progressive difficulty, so it just means that blocking becomes easier in general, and it's got a 4 check enhance, which is your attack gets a damage bonus equal to its printed block modifier. This allows us to get an extra wee bit of damage on like the Cherub Cyclones and stuff like that, and like the actual burst time and stuff like that. So it gives us some extra damage as well, a bit of damage output. Cassandra, you will not read it because we can't do it. Next, we have 4 Fight Like You Mean It. So this card, this enhance has been so useful. So enhance remove. If your stun or weapon attack is not blocked, your next attack gets +4 damage as an unblockable. So this is one of these kind of cards that you can force your opponent early to block and waste their blocks early when there's less cards committed, so that future attacks have an easier time hitting. On top of that, if they don't block it, +4 damage and unblockable. If they've not got enough damage reductions, there's easy enough ways to make us have a lot of damage on these kind of attacks. So like obviously it's that kind of way where it's like extra damage and unblockable. Yes, why not? As I say, I play 4 because I actually want to see it a little bit more consistently, to do it kind of as the game progresses as such. It kind of forces out the blocks and it allows us a bit more of a like control on the kind of attack runs as such when we do it. It's also got a response remove. After your opponent plays an action card or a stun ability, they discard 1 card. The amount of actions getting played nowadays as well, it has also been just as useful to force them to discard as well. And the same as well, if they play a stun ability and then you make them discard because of it, it's actually pretty useful in that way as well. So it's got really two good useful options. If only it had a block, that would be even better. But then it might be a bit broken. So, as I say, it's a pretty useful card. And then the last card we play 4 of, which also shouldn't shock anybody, is Let's Cut Loose. So Let's Cut Loose, 3 diff action with 6 check, enhance remove, add 1 foundation for your discard pile to your hand, or from your card pool to your staging area, draw 1 card. So I always try to play, especially on Symbol, I try to play a couple of them, if not a full set, just out of the fact that it just gives you a bunch of cards basically for that kind of check. Again as well, if you add a card to the pool with Nutcracker, it allows you to build it potentially, and still draw a card and stuff like that, so it replaces itself and you get a build out it, or you just essentially replace itself and draw a card. Card is so good, and as I say, it's one of those useful cards, especially when you're blocking, especially with this deck. Basically being able to pick up the perfect block and pick up a block on zone and stuff like that has been also just as useful. So as I say, I play 4 of them, and that is generally the full deck. So it's literally bang on, it's 60 characters and 61 total plus character. As I say, like, the deck itself has actually been really fun to play. I played against a Nightman deck played by Murray, and it worked out really well during the games, and on top of that I played a couple other games as well during the weeks, just to try it out and see if, make sure it worked as well. And yeah, definitely triggers off enough times and you get that stun going and stuff like that, and you get the extra attack, and people aren't ready for like the multiple 3 and stuff like that. It's actually been a lot of fun. This is definitely probably the best stun character in the game at this point, just off of how you can do it. I would really like to see other people's builds, if there's different builds, or if somebody built off of different symbols would also be just as cool, just to see what other people have came up with as such. As I say, that is my Sea Viper deck for this week, and we'll get back with you next week with another character from the UF Scotland League games. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.